Hey everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. Traci Reed released an amazing collection called Weekender, and it is perfect for documenting all the day trips and all the big vacations that you take. And I'm excited to put together a 4x6 little mini book for my son, who went to the San Francisco coast with several other friends, and it was a wonderful little day trip. And not only did my son send me pictures, but also his friend took pictures as well. So I'm just going to put together this little mini book to document that trip. So they took a selfie when they started the trip, so I went ahead and did that 4x6, and I just turned it horizontal so that way it'll, work. And then on the other side, they took selfies of each other, so I decided to collage those and then go ahead and just add them right there on the page. And since my son was wearing a red shirt, I went with red and just added a journaling card that I shrunk down that says our trip. And then on the photo of them in the car, I put day trip. And then another thing that I did, since I took a lot of scenic photos and I knew that getting my son to journal about these photos might be a little difficult, I decided to keep the journaling very simple. I think there's only 2 spots in here for journaling. So I'm hoping that he'll journal, not, anytime soon probably. But I'm going to get him to journal. But to make it easier on myself, I went ahead and used the app PicFrame. I've talked about it several times, but I use it all the time to do collages of my photos. And that's what I did with a lot of these photos, since they took so many on the drive there and the drive back. And it wasn't just my son's photos, it was also his mom taking photos, his friend's mom, and his friend. And so I just had a lot of photos to pick from, and it was a really great way to document this special trip that they took. So I just finished making a little flip out for these 2 photos that were kind of my favorites. It was of a deer that they spotted on the trip, and then kind of in what looks like an underground bunker. I keep meaning to ask my son what this picture actually is, but it really does look like an underground bunker. So I put that underneath along with some green paper, just so that way it wasn't plain white, and in case he wants to journal about it. I could probably also research it too and figure it out, because it's probably documented. I took that journaling card, "We Are Here," and placed it below those photos, and then just trimmed off the part that has a rating and a date. And I just went ahead and put that on the inside of the flip out. And over on the left-hand side, all I added was a die cut that says C. And you can see up here, I just die cut the pieces that I needed for this project. Normally, I die cut all the different die cuts, but this time I just wanted to not overwhelm myself with too many choices, so I went ahead and just die cut the ones that I needed, because this collection is massive, and there's even a few add-ons for different themes like local travel and eating. So there's a lot, and it's a really, really great collection to document all kinds of trips. So on this page, I did blues and greens, and I took another journaling card and just took the piece that I needed, adventure bound, and put that below the photo of all the boys. And that's another thing I really liked and felt like I had to, make this 4x6, is because there were so many great photos of all of the boys, all the friends together. They just really did a great job of capturing them. And I'm sure my son's friend's mom had a hand in that. She did a really great job making sure that they took lots of great photos together. And I love that photo of my son taking a picture. I think his friend took that, so of course I had to include that. It's just a great photo, because he was nice enough to send me photos, text me photos during the day trip. So for this page, I used a TN signature page with all these cameras, and I just shrunk it down, and I love the result. So that's of course an option, because the TN signatures are 5 by 8.5 inches, but I made this one 4 by 6. I did take the black little square down on the bottom says vacation memories, but I decided to go ahead and pop dot a black die cut that says wander close, and also include a die cut that says adventure. That way it kind of creates a nice diagonal line, and also I didn't really need the vacation memories because it was just a day trip, so that's why. And this next page, I guess they went in a tunnel. They went underground in a tunnel, and I really liked that photo. So I paired it with a polka dot paper that had lots of different colors in it, and then added a collage on the other side. Right now I have the wrong collage, so I'm going to grab the correct one. I wanted to use the one with 4 pictures of the ocean and then the one with the lizard. And I decided to add a little pop of green to the page with some circles. And so I just punched those circles out, and it also gave me a good spot to anchor down a die cut that says let's explore on the left hand side, and a must-see die cut over on the right-hand side, and another die cut that says go right below the lizard. I love all of those die cuts, the go, the here, the see, trip. They just are really cool. They look like part of a letterboard or something like that. I love them. So I use several of those throughout this project. And you can see I just refilled my foam stash. I keep a little like green container on my desk, and I have these giant adhesive foam sheets, so I have to cut little strips and little squares. I used to get, you know, the prepackaged squares, and I probably should go back to that, but I'm trying to use up these adhesive sheets before I move on. I thought it was a good idea at the time, but now I'm not so sure. It's more work to use these adhesive sheets because they're only adhesive on one side, which is frustrating. Okay, moving on to the next page. This is the collage that I was trying to use on the other page, but I wanted to use it here because it had photos of the friends and my son, and I wanted to pair it with the really cool photos they got with this cool wall in the background. It's really cool. And I didn't want to cut off too much of the photo, but I wanted to have some green, like a strip of the map green paper behind it. So I went ahead and cut some of the photo of the boys, and I just trimmed off the white edges and just a little bit of it. And you can still see the really cool wall. And this trimmer is really old and not very sharp, so that's why I have to like pretty much bang the trimmer down several times to get it to cut the strips that I need. So I placed down the map paper, and then I'm also going to tie in the green to the other side by using a die cut that says day trip. They just, like I said, took some really cool photos. Like there's a photo of my son that I'm assuming his friend took on the suspension bridge, and there's also one of like a close-up of sunglasses, which was really cool. And I love all these photos. I love when like preteens, teens cooperate for photos. It's just, you know, you never know what you're gonna get, so you never know if they're gonna cooperate. So it kind of makes pictures, at least in this season of life, more special because, yeah, you want them looking at the camera and smiling, but that doesn't mean it's always going to happen. For that green die cut, I decided to balance it or place it right by the top of the second photo. So I was just adjusting where I had that. And of course, punch the holes and move on to the next page. Again, they took another really cool photo in front of the lighthouse that they had hiked down to. So I wanted to make that its own kind of special spread by adding in some more patterned paper and a solid black paper, which matches really well with the photo on the right-hand side, which is of the lighthouse. And I will use a big black die cut as well. So I used a cloud pattern paper, and I don't know if I put it like the right way. It probably could have flipped 180 degrees. I don't know. I was thinking too much about which direction the cloud paper should face, but you know what? I don't think it matters in the end, right? So I put the photo right in the center and decide to use a map die cut that says, let's go away, which I love. Like I said, there is so many fantastic die cuts in Traci's kits, always, but especially in this one with all the different add-ons. So that big die cut said, this is the spot, and I put a blue flower die cut to tie in with the blue on the other page. So might be one of my favorite pages of this book, but I love it. And like I said, I can't get enough of how awesome all these photos are, and it was just a really special trip for my son to go on with his good buddy. So the next 2 photos I just collaged and shrunk down to a 3x4 and then printed it out, and decided to use a big bold pattern of red and just place it like almost halfway up the paper. And I am using like paper scraps in between the photos and as the background for the photos, if that makes sense. Basically, I'm just trying to use scraps as much as I can. So for the top half of this layout, I used a scrap of paper, and then the other half I placed the red paper. But when I go to use a scrap for the right-hand side, I'm gonna goof it all up. But I'll fix it, and I don't think you'll be able to tell my little boo-boo there. And I will add 2 big die cuts, one on the left that says trip, and the other one that says see new places, which is going to be up in the right hand corner. So somehow when I printed these red papers, they wound up the different sizes. I'm not sure how that happened, but they did. So I'm going to have to figure out a clever way to get the right hand side to be the same side as the left hand side. And the way that I'm going to do that is basically use the scraps that I have left over from trimming, and then you won't even be able to tell that I made that mistake, like I said earlier. So I placed down the big portion of that red paper so that way it lines up with the left hand side, and then use those scraps, and now you can't even tell. And I just made sure I put down a lot of adhesive so that way it will stay down and not come up. Add the die cut, and then I can move on to the next little page. I had to kind of rip up the photo because I did want it to go a little lower. That way the die cut could sit nicely where I wanted it. You know how that goes. Sometimes you put a photo down, you're like, oh, that doesn't look right. It's not aligned properly. I don't know. In our heads, it's not aligned properly, or it's not sitting in the correct position. But in reality, it probably is all fine, right? So the next thing that they did after they did the hike down at the lighthouse was go to the beach, despite it being freezing because it was in September. But they had a blast and acted like, I mean, they're not going to like it when I say this, but they acted like little kids, loving building sandcastles and running free in the waves. And I absolutely love this picture of all of them in the ocean. And of course, I had to do that 4x6. So I am adding some green to both of the pages and keep it kind of monochromatic. I do add a die cut that says photo op, and unlike the cloud paper earlier, I think the photo op die cut was actually facing the wrong way. I needed to turn it, so that way it faces better with the 4x6 photo, if that makes sense. And once I get that all done, I'm going to finish up this little 4x6 with a photo of my son in the sand. They buried him like up to his chest, and I can't get enough of this photo. He is just pure joy and pure happiness. Above it, I put a die cut that says here, and used a floral paper that kind of is a green color and definitely plays off the other beach photos that have some green on it. I had some adhesive on the photo, so that's what I just cleaned up. I don't know how that adhesive got there, but it did. So cleaned it up with my rubber eraser. And on the right-hand side, I'm just going to add a journaling card. I think that's the second one that I've added. And then my son can journal later on at some point if he wants to. I'm hoping he does. But like I said earlier, I can do some research too and figure out the photos, or just ask my son's friend's mom. And then I'll have that journaling. But I really wanted to document all of these special photos on this special trip. And I just made a chipboard cover, and I did it at 4.25 inches by 6.25 inches. That way it was a 1/4 inch bigger on both sides. And at some point I may cover it with some pattern paper and hodgepodge or Mod Podge, but at this point I'm not going to. So I've got all the binder rings in and the pages in, and now I'm going to flip through and show you this really cute 4x6 mini book, and I absolutely love it. It came together very quick and simple with the collages and just picking my absolute favorite photos and using this kit. So it's such an easy way to get a trip documented by sticking with 4x6 and collages and just keeping it simple for yourself. So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing these come together. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you're new to my channel. All right, have a great day. Bye.